Ayo Dosunmu just put up one of the best next man up performances in NBA history. The injury to Dante DiVincenzo was devastating, the Anthony Edwards injury was scary, and the Minnesota Timberwolves had every right to roll over and let those two moments finish them, but the whole team rallied, the whole team fought, and the whole team played insanely well, and it was Ayo Dosunmu who led that charge. 43 points in 42 minutes, 13 of 17 from the field, 5 of 5 from deep, 12 of 12 from the free throw line. This was as near to high usage perfection as you'll see from anybody. And with this game, Minnesota go up 3-1 in the series, and Dosunmu writes his name into Timberwolves and NBA playoff folklore. Now, there's a lot of nuance that goes into a series like this, but this Dosunmu performance was about straight buckets. For him, it always starts in the paint. A simple ball screen is enough for two Denver defenders to mess up this switch, and if you give him this much room to operate without a body on him, he's going to find a seam in this flimsy defense. I mean, I don't think anybody expected this level from Dosunmu, but he was always going to be an X factor in this series because he's such a downhill weapon. You get the wrong defender on him late in a tight game, and Minnesota can flatten and spread out their offense and give him this big canyon to work in. And he's fast, he's strong, and he will weight room defenders on his way to his easy buckets. This is what we've been seeing from Ayo all series, but especially in these last two games. The Denver Nuggets have a soft underbelly to their perimeter and interior defense, and he's the kind of player who wants to expose that as often as possible. In this series, Dosunmu is shooting 19 of 23 at the rim. That's 83.3% on almost 6 attempts per game. Those are outlier numbers for any player, and really Denver hasn't been able to survive it so far. This game though, we saw him get into his floater bag as well. Unlike with Anthony Edwards, the defense is dropped so far back on his ball screens, so when he beats the first man, that shot is available to him at any time. And we've seen during his time in Minnesota, that's a shot he's really comfortable with. He's not going to let defenses get away with both playing this super deep drop coverage and backing up to stop his rim scoring. If you give him that free throw line floater, he's going to make that at a pretty high rate. Now, Denver's defense has been in a chokehold in a bunch of different ways so far in this series, but this wrinkle just tightens that even further. And it feels like Minnesota is just wearing them out, and Ayo is now a big part of that. This is a perfect example. Here they're just making those perimeter defenders work. They're forcing this switch first with their pitch and catch game, then forcing Murray to get over one screen, and then reverse it to get over another screen, and with Jokic stuck in that deep drop, the defense is flatlined. Dosunmu is dangerous enough to any defense if he's really got his inside game going like he did in Game 4, but when he's pairing that with his outside shooting like he did in this one as well, that's when he becomes a genuine problem. I've said it all series, they're just pressure testing Denver's defenders. Randle flows into this switch handoff, now the defense is compromised. They can't handle Murray on Randle, so Gordon has to creep into strong gap help. And what's important here is this spacing drift to the corner, because when Randle fully engages Gordon, he's got to go a long way to recover back to Dosunmu, and that's a wide open look that feels like a layup to him right now. With catch and shoot looks, it's often the product of threats happening elsewhere in the offense, like Jones has to slide across to help on Gobert's role here, but this curling cut from Dosunmu puts Murray in this spot where he's having to defend two in a huge amount of space, and that's how he gets such an open look. It's just really smart off-ball work. A lot of these threes were just great examples of that stress that Denver's defense is under. They can't afford Randle steamrolling them, so they send an extra body reflexively, and now they're done for on the overloaded side of the floor. And really the progression of Ayo's game in this sense is the same as it was with his downhill game in this whole series. He gets going out of actions and gravity of his teammates, and then when he's in a groove, he can get into his self-creation bag a little more. Again, if Jokic isn't going to come out of that deep drop, then Ayo is going to lace that pull-up 3-ball as a punishment. And when it was time for a late game dagger, they're spreading out the offense again and letting him use Tim Hardaway Jr. as a gun sight. 5 of 5 from deep is obviously as good as it's going to get, but this, like the rim pressure, has been a theme of the series for Dosunmu. He's at 53.3% from long range on over 4 attempts per game during the postseason so far, and they haven't just been coming on those catch and shoot looks that he loves. Denver has been in those drop coverages or going under on screens, and Dosunmu's been making pull-up threes and giving them another thing to worry about defensively, along with everything they've had to throw at Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, and even Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels. And really the thing about this Dosunmu series, and these last 2 games in particular, is that this is all on top of what he really does best, which is get out in transition. And as expected, we saw that in this folklore game. I think this is a good excuse to touch on some of Minnesota's defense as well. Like Gobert getting through this flex screen, which is always going to choke up any early advantage that Jokic has, and then just dead on arrivaling him when he tries to ISO Gobert. And that gives Dosunmu the platform to go and do his thing in the open court. How many times has Gobert done things like this in this series? Pushing Jokic way out on his catch, then breaking up the entry pass and allowing Minnesota to get easy points in transition. The isolation stuff at the rim with Gobert on Jokic has been insane, but the physicality to get him off his comfort spots is a super underrated aspect of Gobert's dominance so far. And likewise, how many times have we seen Jaden McDaniels just straight jacket Jamal Murray right out here at half court, allowing someone like Conley to shoot this gap and get the steal, and Ayo really is just the beneficiary of Minnesota's defensive game plan and their defensive execution just working perfectly. Look, the injuries to DiVincenzo and Edwards are going to be storylines for the rest of this series and the rest of Minnesota's playoff run, but this is the storyline of this game. Ayo Dosunmu had one of the most memorable performances in Timberwolves history, but his whole team conjured up a performance worthy of a dozen different talking points. We'll see what happens from here, but this game and what Dosunmu did within it deserves its flowers. If you like this video and want to see more like it coming up during the playoffs, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and give me your takes on this game in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.